As a female, I've been told numerous times it's the eye contact that gets a man's attention. And I've come to find that this is true with several men. So what is it about looking into someone's eyes that makes you interested? I am curious. Cheers. Edit. Wow, you all, this is amazing. I did not expect to receive so many comments and kudos for this question. You all are helping me out so much. Thank you. Story 1. Eye contact is the green light at a stop sign. If I see a cute girl and I am getting eye contact, then that means we both like what we see. That followed up by a hello gets the ball rolling. Story 2. Simply put, a lot of us guys don't get a ton of female attention, period. A small compliment, a little comment, they go further than you think. So eye contact, the act of, in that moment, giving that guy your undivided attention, it's understandable why that draws guys to someone. Story 3. Personally, for me, being a rather large man, 6'4" and 250 pounds, I like eye contact from anyone because it shows that my size doesn't intimidate them and I can talk to them about my favorite Disney movie. Since so many want to know, if we're talking Disney Channel original movies, then Motocrossed. If we're talking classic Disney movies, then The Lion King. More recently, I would have to go with Moana because of Dwayne Johnson. Story 4. In terms of getting a man's attention, just making eye contact with him from across the room for longer than you would normally signals to him that you are interested in him. Do that, and if he finds you attractive and is available and finds the courage, he will approach you. Women just do not make eye contact with men they do not know for more than a glance unless they are interested in them, so we know what it means when you do that. Story 5. It's not the eye contact. It's the attitude and predisposition behind it. It's all about the person. The eyes are simply the bridge that brings the connection. Story 6. Because looking at someone directly is deep and meaningful. Have you ever heard that eyes are the gateway to the soul? Women don't say it as often, but they feel the power of eye contact too. Eyes as an organ themselves are incredibly beautiful, no matter the color. Probably the most unique and colorful part of our bodies. That's beautiful. They say a lot and nothing too. It's not often you get to share in that eye contact the right way, so it's even more special. Story 7. There's chemistry involved too. There was this study that suggested your heartbeats would sync up if you look someone you like in the eyes long enough. That's probably also one of the reasons we feel different when doing it, because our heartbeat just changes. Story 8. Everyone is talking about eye contact with women. It works between men as well, but it is even rarer. If you want to know which guy friend is going to drop everything to help you in a crisis, the one you've made eye contact with in a deep conversation is definitely going to be the first one there. Story 9. I think I can boil it down to the sad basic thing. As a man, nobody really sees me, just the role I play. So, someone looking at you with care or appreciation is extremely rare. Someone showing interest in you, not what you do. Story 10. For safety's sake, most women walk through life with their eyes averted from the gaze of men. Eye contact means she feels safe or so attracted her interest overwhelms her fear. It's a green light to say hello. It's the beginning of everything. Story 11. As a kid, I never understood why some girls looked at me for way too long. I assumed they were just nice because, after that long look, they'd give me a smile. But now I know that's how they express their interest. So if I like a girl and she's giving me the prolonged look, I do the same and eventually approach her. Story 12. Because the opposite shows either awkwardness, lack of confidence, or lack of interest. And then it makes us feel the same way. I was dating a girl for 6 months, and the one thing throwing me off, something I couldn't figure out for ages, was that she never looked me in the face while we were talking. I asked her, and she said she really struggled to look people in the eye. I let it slide, and we broke up eventually. Eye contact definitely wasn't the #1 issue, but it was a contributing factor. Things just felt superficial. Story 13. It's the ultimate nonverbal, I'm interested sign a girl can give. It's a sign of desire and attention. But be careful, it's a double-edged sword. Once in the metro, I was standing in front of a girl who kept looking at me multiple times, straight in the eyes. Considering that I was pretty well dressed and just had a fresh haircut, I thought she might find me attractive, but the stern expression she had just creeped me out. So I'd say use it wisely. Story 14. I have read before somewhere in research about porn videos that men actually focus the most on the eyes instead of a woman's private parts. Story 15. There's no great mystery here. Men would prefer it if women came up and verbally expressed interest, but they rarely do. Failing that, eye contact is another method of letting someone know you're interested, which women do far more commonly. It's not that we are driven wild, it's that that's all we get typically. Story 16. I think it's connection. You have to have chemistry to feel comfortable looking into each other's eyes. If it feels good, not awkward, that's attraction. Story 17. Because it can come off as affectionate, and a lot of guys are affection-starved, even those in relationships, they feel underappreciated. Sometimes you want to be the little spoon, have someone run their fingers through your hair and give you gentle scratches, or just give you a gentle back rub. It's so out of the ordinary that it drives us wild because it makes us feel like we are someone. Story 18. I'm sure it's probably been said, but it releases crazy amounts of oxytocin when you maintain eye contact with someone. On a personal level, I did the 36 questions with a stranger on a plane, and at the end of it, you hold eye contact with each other for 4 minutes straight. That was the best first date of my entire life, and it took place entirely on a plane. Story 19. I don't know, I would say it's a pretty individual thing. For me personally, eye contact makes me very uncomfortable and I struggle with it unless it's a person I already know and trust. Story 20. There are many reasons, and they all relate to challenge, vulnerability, and daring. In the particular case of being driven wild, it's the most extreme example of vulnerability crossing over into daring. There's a crossover in cuteness and sexiness that's caused by the overlap of vulnerability and daring. To be daring is sexy, to be vulnerable is cute, but they overlap because being daring requires making yourself vulnerable. It's like a signal that you have something stronger beyond the vulnerability. Otherwise, how could you just voluntarily expose it? It's kind of like taunting someone. People taunt by exposing vulnerability to others with the implication that they can win despite exposing their own vulnerability. Something similar is going on with sexiness, but different enough that it overlaps with cuteness. Well, I guess violent taunts could also be considered cute, but in a dismissive way. Making eye contact with someone exposes yourself to their total attention. You're implicitly inviting them to pay full attention to you, and that's a vulnerability. It's a vulnerability because there's no telling what they might think, see, say, or do, and it's all about you. But at the same time, it's a challenge because the other person must do the same thing to actually accept the invitation. In the case of lovers, this all ends up meaning eye contact is a challenge to be sexy by mutually exposing vulnerability. Story 21. It shows confidence, and nothing is sexier than that. An average girl can beat out a glamorous one any day of the week if she is the one with real confidence. Story 22. Eyes are a window to the soul. Many signs come from the eyes, both subconscious and not. For example, if you make eye contact with someone who's interested in you, even just to talk or whatever, their eyebrows will involuntarily twitch. What's curious is that even if you don't consciously notice, if you share the interest, you'll return the twitch like a weird eyebrow handshake. Your eyes also respond to thought. As mentioned previously, just thinking about bright light will dilate your pupils. Personally, I find a woman's most attractive and memorable feature to be her eyes. I might forget their name, but can almost always tell you their eye color. Story 23. I'm a woman and I have always been a bit uncomfortable holding eye contact with someone for longer than the average accepted length of time. Except for my man I met last year. He is the only person, literally the only one, whose eye contact I can hold and feel completely comfortable. We started out as friends, and that was always the way I knew he felt for me what I felt for him. Because, as the saying goes, the eyes don't lie, and you really can see a person's true soul through them. It's very special to me and makes me feel alive. Story 24. It's pretty much confirmation that they are interested in me. Eye contact is surprisingly uncomfortable for extended periods, so if someone is willing to endure it, it means I must have something worth looking at, or they're a sociopath who doesn't understand why people don't like eye contact. Story 25. It's a very important form of nonverbal communication. When you make eye contact and hold it, it's like you've both said hi to each other. It depends on the circumstances, It may just be an acknowledgement between two people, but holding it for more than a few seconds is a nonverbal way of saying, "Hi, I'm interested in communicating more with you." It's also a good way of acknowledging another person when speaking isn't possible, like in a loud club when you're with other people and can't talk. Eyes are the windows into a person's soul. Story 26. A little surprised I haven't seen anything about this here. Women often get a great deal more attention than they actually want. Avoiding eye contact is one of the ways they shield themselves from some of that. When someone does make eye contact in a deliberate way, it can be an invitation to interact more. That's a really nice feeling. Story 27. My girlfriend has amazing eyes. Big, brown, almond. We've been friends for years, but we just decided to start dating early this year. On our first date, she commented about me avoiding eye contact. She said I never had a problem before. I'm usually not a shy person, but when we started talking about dating and she started telling me how she's always had a thing for me, it became different. Those big eyes began to sparkle, and I'd find myself completely helpless against their gaze. It felt like she was looking into me, and I couldn't hold the gaze. She knows how to disarm me with those eyes. They're like my kryptonite. Story 28. Eye contact. As mentioned already, it's just the undivided attention, I guess. It makes me feel special, although I can't help but get all nervous when I'm made to hold eye contact for too long. Story 29. I think everyone loves eye contact with an attractive person. But to answer the question I think you are asking, we guys have been told to read eye contact as a sign of a woman's interest. It is one of the few signals we get from you all, so it is naturally exciting. Story 30. Eyes are windows to the soul. I remember one of my buddies made eye contact with my dog, and he said, "Ever make eye contact with an animal and things just get a little too real?" That stuck with me and made me realize that eye contact is nothing more than validation. Validation is something a lot of people are looking for. It also happens to be a majority consisting of men. Making eye contact also gives a nonverbal cue that communicates so much information in a small amount of time. That being said, most people aren't really good at reading nonverbal cues. Story 31. Have you ever just had your eyes magnetized to an object, action, or event? Your peripheral vision just fades away, and all you can see is that thing you're looking at. When a girl locks eyes with you, it's instantly one of those moments. Add to the fact that it's not really common to be deliberately looked at. In conversation, you make brief eye contact, but your eyes are always flicking around. When a girl is deliberately looking at you, and her eyes are transfixed on yours or at you, it's like the world fades away, and the action of doing so sort of says, yes, you are who I choose to give my attention. We are also very visual creatures. Our faces can express more words and meaning than spoken language can muster. Looking a guy dead in the eyes just overwhelms the senses. Story 32. Personally, I feel like it wakes me up. We are often in autopilot and don't really think about all that much, but when someone looks you in the eyes, it triggers some part of your brain that makes you aware again and takes you out of idle mode. Story 33. I was out drinking with a few friends in a pub. I glanced around and made eye contact with a woman. We held eye contact for a few seconds. It was very intense. I literally fell in love at first sight. She was the only woman I have ever fallen for like that. I first met her 23 years ago. After several marriages and a couple of kids, we're back together again. She still has amazing eyes. I still love her the same as I did 23 years ago. Never underestimate the power of holding eye contact. Story 34. A woman's eyes are a highly attractive feature compared to men's. Look at how most women are drawn or painted with an emphasis on the eyes. The term exotic eyes is mostly used when referencing a woman. Also, most women won't look you in the eyes because it's taught that it's a confirmation of attraction. So when one does, we men turn into mush. Story 35. I guess it depends on the context. In public or across the room, it shows interest. During an intimate moment, it shows that the person is into it, not pretending to be somewhere else or with someone else, and is genuinely interested in the pleasure the recipient is experiencing. Story 36. Well, lack of eye contact means whatever is over there is more important. So eye contact is taken conversely as whatever is over here, me, is more important. It's like an implied compliment. Story 37. If I am being gazed upon, then I must be at least interesting enough to be looked at. If a woman is giving me her undivided attention through her eyes, then that is a win for me. Story 38. I was raised to always use eye contact with those you are speaking to as a sign of respect, and so they know you are actually interested in the conversation. Perhaps it's because those men were raised the same way and it's a sign of respect to them as well. Everyone loves someone who can listen and show respect because communication is a huge factor in relationships. Story 39. The answer is simple. When you are looking in my eyes, you are not looking in anyone else's. One of the biggest insecurities in men is feeling invalidated, feeling like we are not valued. The attention from eye contact is validating. Story 40. I don't know. Personally, I find it really difficult to maintain eye contact with anybody. Every 5 seconds or so, I have to look away. It's almost involuntary. If I am able to maintain eye contact for a little longer, it's because I really like that person, and that feeling is normally perceived by anyone. Story 41. I honestly think eye contact is very intimate. I love it even though I haven't done it. For me, the most beautiful features of a woman are her eyes and her smile, which always warms my heart.